All right, our second hour and our final hour of Batter this season tipping off right here, right now on Sports Grid TV, Sirius XM channel 159, all across your OTT streaming platforms. James and Shames here again to start things off in hour two with some headlines. And we're going to start off with some news that we found out last night. A familiar face going back to his original home, maybe. Carmelo Anthony rumored to have mutual interest in signing with the Denver Nuggets in this offseason. I would absolutely love to see that. He's also been connected to the New York Knicks, another team that Melo has played for in the past. Of course, I think the Lakers have a great shot to bring him back as well. You know, given that he has been a pretty important part of what they have been able to do, the limited success they have had over the past couple seasons. JY, the dawn of Carmelo's career going back to where it all started and giving that offense a boost in Denver alongside Nikola Jokic. Things I would love to see for 2000, please.
You know, if Melo bring back the cornrows, I mean, I'm all in. I mean, Melo with the cornrows, the Syracuse cornrows, the cornrows he had in Denver, I'm all in there like swimwear. I'll take that right now. But listen, you made a good point. It's about what they need. What does Denver need? They need perimeter shooting, particularly at the forward spot. You don't get it out of Aaron Gordon. Michael Porter Jr., can you trust him? This guy's had injury histories up and down. But I think when you look at a team like Denver, you have to surround the Joker with shooters. He goes into the low post. He's the best passing big man in the league. He needs to be surrounded by guys who can shoot the ball. That's why, I think he would be a great addition for them. And then you get Jamal Murray back. You hopefully hope that Michael Porter Jr. stays healthy, and don't sleep on my guy. You know where I'm going. Bones Highland. I'm a big Bones Highland guy. I do think this would actually be a good fit for a Denver team, Shaves. Let's be honest, that's going to have a lot better chance of going further in the playoffs than the LA Lakers.
Certainly true, and Carmelo wants that ring, of course, to cap off what has been a legendary career, and that would kind of be the final piece of that puzzle for Carmelo Anthony. And speaking of free agency, JY, we had a big story come out this week from Sarah Todd, a beat reporter for the Utah Jazz. This one's interesting. According to this article, there is a lot of favor around the league from multiple executives of swapping the order of free agency and the NBA draft. So free agency would begin before the draft, and there's also a lot in that article about tampering rules and really why they're in place. And JY, my understanding of what was being said there is that tampering rules exist to prevent players from feeling de-incentivized to play out their current contracts. If you know, in March or April that you have a contract coming from a different team in the offseason, you don't really care about how you play for the rest of that season. In the same sense, coaches, GMs, anyone in the front office who's working to get these deals done, maybe not as focused on a potential playoff run or the end of the regular season as well, thinking about what their next move is. So a lot in this article is basically talking about whether or not that's necessary, and it was really quite an interesting commentary that I'm excited to get your thoughts on, JY. And first, we will welcome in our Sports Grid radio audience here on Sirius XM channel 159, betting above the rim, the last hour of the show this season before we flip over to football next week. And we're talking about some of the proposed rule changes for the NBA offseason structure, swapping the free agency period, perhaps limiting some of these tampering violations that some teams have been coming under fire for recently. And this would also include the NBA draft coming after the start of free agency instead of before. JY, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think the league needs to do regarding the tampering, and is this a potential solution in your opinion?
I think it absolutely works. I think it's a smart play. I do believe in the NFL, free agency starts before the NFL draft. I think what you do is you have free agency almost right away after the end of the season. It prevents the tampering, and then we get action. But I think what it also does, Shames, is it allows teams to set up their board who they chase in free agents and who they look for in the draft based on free agency. But also, I think this could lead, Shames, to more trades right off the bat, shedding salary, moving players. You may have a more active market then and there. And the teams that are in the playoffs, making deep runs in the playoffs, it allows them to focus on the playoffs and not be worried so much about the draft. I think it's a really smart move, and I think it would make things actually better and more interesting and better off seasons if the free agent period is before the draft.
JY, do you feel that tampering right now is a major problem in the NBA? Of course, we heard this story about Lonzo Ball and Kyle Lowry. The Sixers are under some investigation here. We know that tampering kind of exists on a widespread level, but quickly, do you believe that it is an issue?
It's an absolute issue. It's been going on for years. You can go back to the Miami Heat when LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh got together. These guys talk all the time. So you got to find a way to do it. Best way to do it, move it to right after the season, push back the draft.
I like that point, JY. There's no way to prevent talking. It's going to happen. And talking is what we're going to do on the other side of the break as we visit the W.
If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to tell you what your case is potentially worth. Hello, I'm Gina, along with spokesperson Rob. Rob, tell the folks at home who should be calling right now.
Well, just like you said, Gina, anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault, you don't have an attorney, give us a call right now, and we're going to let you know what your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Rob. So what kind of calls have we been seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls from all types of accidents today. Work accidents, slip and falls, truck accidents, and most commonly, car accidents. So if you were injured in an accident that was not your fault, you don't have an attorney, take that first step, pick up that phone and give us a call. We're going to answer your questions and we'll let you know how much money you can get for your accident.
Thanks, Rob. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Go ahead, don't hesitate, take that first step and call now.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. That's right, free. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And it's free. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched over 1,200 annuities and summarized the rates and benefits of annuities from financially strong insurers. Again, that's Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free, for calling Annuity General today. Supplies are limited. Call now.
Call 800-830-7360. That's 800-830-7360.
Hi, folks. Medicare Part C plans with extra benefits like getting money added back to your Social Security check may now be available to you in your zip code. Make sure you're not missing out. It's simple. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, they'll look up your zip code and see if you're eligible. 3, they'll check for plans with extra benefits like prescriptions, dental coverage, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every single month. Call now.
I called to get everything I deserve.
I called to check my zip code for a plan with a benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to check my zip code.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. Call. Check your zip code, see if you're eligible, and get what you deserve. Call now.
Call 1-800-810-7576. That's 1-800-810-7576 now.
We are going out to the W, and what a great day to do that on this fine Saturday morning. It's betting above the rim. It is Jon James, and it is James Young, the best WNBA handicapper I know, and I bet the best that you know as well. And JY, we have to talk about so much here for the W, as is just 1 day left of regular season action before the playoff race is solidified, and every team is going tomorrow, and a lot can be determined in this last game. So we'll start things off, JY, by looking at some of the standings here, or I'm sorry, looking at the standings here for the WNBA. The top of the board, the Las Vegas Aces. Chicago and Las Vegas battling for control of that 1 seed for the entire year. And after a big win over the Sky the other night, the Aces are your current holder of that 1 seed. They own the tiebreaker over the Chicago Sky, and both teams are playing tomorrow. The Aces are playing the Seattle Storm, where they are favored by 10.5 points. The Sky laying 6.5 against the Phoenix Mercury. There is a scenario, as we talked about during the break, where the Sky can regain control of that 1 seed, but it would have to feature a win for Chicago and a loss for the Aces. If the Aces win, their destiny is in their own hands, and they can control that 1 seed. But what's really interesting, JY, and we were talking about it this whole week, this tie towards the bottom of the list, right? And those last 2 spots for the WNBA playoffs, right now you have two-way ties. The Phoenix Mercury at 15 and 20, tied with the New York Liberty. And then in that 8th spot, the Minnesota Lynx and the Atlanta Dreams both sit in there at 14 and 21. All 4 of these teams in action tomorrow, JY. What are your early thoughts about how this playoff race is shaping up for the WNBA and the importance of controlling the proper seeding right now?
It's going to be fascinating. Let's start off with the 1 seed. It's going to be interesting to see what Seattle does. Seattle's a big dog right now to the Las Vegas Aces. I do believe it's 10.5 right now. But does it make sense for Seattle, who's clinched the 4 seed, do they rest some of their players and get ready for the playoffs, knowing that they got the 4-5 matchup with the Mystics? Or do they try and go and steal that game for the Aces, hope that Chicago wins in Phoenix, and then turn around and knock Vegas off the 1 line? Because to me, the best team in the WNBA is the Las Vegas Aces. Too many what-ifs there, so I do think you may see a little bit of rest. That's a big line at 10.5. I suspect that maybe some of the main players for Seattle won't play big minutes. Brianna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd, Tina Charles, Sue Bird. Let's see that happen. That game may also be a game you may want to play live and see how the game starts off. Now, Shames, when you get to the bottom 4, okay, and they were all tied going into last night, the Liberty, who have not played well on the road, got a big win by 10 points over the Atlanta Dream, 80-70. The key thing to look at with this game is Laney went back into the starting lineup for the Liberty. They started Howard, Laney, Dolson, Anescu, and Dangerfield. They had 4 of those 5 get the double figures, which makes the Liberty with Laney in the lineup, another shot creator and shot maker, a really tough team to beat. But what's interesting, Shames, is if you look at the board for tomorrow, the Liberty have the Dream again at home, and they're underdogs, which is very interesting. It may be one of these things, Shames, where they feel like Atlanta's got so much more to play for because they need to win. Obviously, the 2 teams that won last night, the Liberty and the Mercury, both need wins. If they win, they're in, it's over. The Mercury are interesting, though. Listen, they've had the Brittany Griner situation, which we've talked about a lot on this network. Then you talk about Taurasi hurting the quad, but then Skylar Diggins-Smith, their second leading scorer at about 19 points a game, she's out the last 2 games. They're trying to not terminate her contract, not there the last 2 games. We don't know what's going on there. And they turn around and they beat Dallas last night, I do believe by about 12 points. So you have a really fascinating scenario where, listen, folks, the 1 seed isn't decided, and then you have 4 teams battling for 2 spots, and they all play tomorrow. So really interesting times in the WNBA.
Very much so, JY. I am fascinated to see how this race shapes up, especially knowing how banged up the Mercury are and being in that must-win situation. Of those four teams, and I've asked you this a couple times throughout the season, but as they kind of round into their final form and knowing the two teams at the top are going to be the Aces and the Sky, who is the biggest threat among those four teams to potentially pull a first-round upset? And of the top two seeds, who maybe has a chance to go down earlier than expected?
I actually think that Chicago is the more vulnerable team. You know, I do think, and I think, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. If they get the Liberty in the first round, buckle up. I mean, I'm dead serious. Buckle up in the series. Don't look at the records. The New York Liberty are one of the flakiest teams in the WNBA. Folks, they started off winning the first game. Then they lost 7 in a row. Then they got hot in the beginning of June. Then they got cold toward the end of the season, and now they started to turn it on. They're extremely dangerous. Talked about that four-prong attack with Ionescu, Dangerfield, Howard, and Laney. I haven't even talked about Samuel Wincombe and Johannes coming off the bench. So they, and you coming off the bench, they got a lot of offensive firepower, which can give the teams fits. Remember, folks, they've beaten the Aces. They've beaten the Sky twice, or once, I do believe. And in the other game they lost to the Sky, they lost at the buzzer when Venice would hit a big three. They've beaten, I do believe, Seattle. They've beaten the Mystics. They've beaten the Sun. I'm telling you, New York is flat out dangerous. They are dangerous. Atlanta is probably the team that if you get in the playoffs, you feel the best about them not moving past the first round, because I think they're young with, Howard and Ari McDonald. Ari McDonald, the kid out of Arizona, who I got to see play at Monmouth when we played them, and my head was spinning. This kid was so damn quick with the ball. So I think New York is really that team, Shames, that's really, really dangerous. And if you're a team in the WNBA plus, particularly Chicago, I'm not sure you want to see the Liberty in the first round.
The odds for the championship in the WNBA have been pulled off of the FanDuel Sportsbook, but based on my screenshot from a couple days ago, JY, I anticipate when it opens back up, it's going to look a bit different. In that, on that day, on August 11th, the Liberty were 120-1 to win the WNBA title, the third worst odds of any team available. And at the top of that list, the Chicago Sky were still your favorite, plus 195. The Aces just 15 cents behind them at plus 210, which has kind of been the story of the season. Whichever team is holding on to that one seed actively holds on to a slight favorite price on for the WNBA title. But JY, when this market does open back up again, who do you anticipate will be the favorite, and what do you think that price might be looking at this point?
I think it'll be the Aces. They'll probably be at about plus 175, plus 180. I expect the Sky to be about 20 cents behind it, just because of the way that the Aces have handled the matchup the last two. And then it gets interesting. Connecticut, folks, have the most double-digit wins in the WNBA this season, and they're playing well. And they got, Jaquel Jones in the pivot. They have Bonner on the outside, and they have Alyssa Thomas. They got really three rugged forward and centers that can really do a lot of damage. But, folks, the team I'm still thinking it can do it is Seattle. They got the pedigree. They got Sue Birds last year. They made Stewie come back for one more year, and I think she's gone, hint, hint, maybe to Liberty next year. And then you talk about Jewel Lloyd and the play of Tina Charles. Right now, for the value, I may actually place a ticket on the Seattle Storm to win the WNBA title.
Nearly 5-1 from these odds a couple days ago. I anticipate, given that the price is going to get shorter on these favorites, that might be an even longer play, so some better value. But we'll get JY's thoughts, his actual picks on the other side of the break here.
Funerals can be emotionally devastating for a family to go through. Besides the sorrow, loved ones are left with the high cost of arranging a funeral. Funeral Advantage was formed to help protect your family when they need it most. It pays your loved ones up to $20,000 immediately for funeral and any other expenses.
It's a good feeling to know that my family will be taken care of if anything happens to me.
Funerals can easily cost $9,000 or more, but government benefits pay only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the rest.
It's so easy. Just answer a few simple health questions.
This is so affordable, even for someone like me who's on a fixed income.
If you're 40 to 85, get information on how to protect your family. Funeral Advantage is something we all need. There's no risk or obligation. Call now.
Get the facts about how easy it is to protect your family. Call 800-565-6178. That's 800-565-6178.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-268-1371. That's 800-268-1371. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
Have you ever felt leg pain, restlessness, cramps, tingling, swelling, numbness, itchiness, or coldness? Then you need the new, clinically proven Legzercise Pro, the natural circulation booster that uses continuous automatic leg movement to soothe pain and promote healthy circulation the natural drug-free way.
After using Legzercise for a week, I felt like I wanted to go for a walk again without pain like I used to.
Legzercise Pro's patented walking simulator propulsion technology moves your feet back and forth along its concave track, creating constant movement and flex at both the knee and ankle joints. It's like having a physical therapist right in your own home.
It's helped with the swelling and the pain. The tingling feeling is gone.
Call right now and order your very own Legzercise Pro, the clinically proven automatic leg mover that soothes pain and naturally promotes healthy circulation. Call now.
You heard a screech outside at night, but you can't see what it is because there's not enough light. You need the Bionic Floodlight from Bell & Howell, the solar-powered motion-activated multi-directional floodlight, the versatile wireless, safety, security, and outdoor lifestyle light you'll love. And right now, it's yours for just $29.99, and the shipping is free. Order now, and we'll send a second Bionic Floodlight. Just pay a separate fee. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-604-7066 or order online at bionicfloodlight.com.
Sports Grid.
You want best bets? We're going to give you best bets right here, right now. In our last segment of Just James and Shames, we will have Antonio Williams joining us here in the next segment. But right here, right now, is time for us to get some best bets in, not just from myself and JY, but from the entire BATR crew doing their thing in the back, helping each and every week, and deserves all the credit, all the praise in the world. They do an absolutely fantastic job. And right now, we're going to see if they know a thing or two about some hoops. So, JY, let's start out, before we dive into any of our picks, talking about one Mr. Andrew Bacigalupo and how he thinks this season of hoops is going to play out at all of the different levels. So, let's roll on this board. First things up, we're picking an NBA champion. That is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks for young Andrew. Plus 550, good value there on the Bucks. They have the second best price on the board right now, just behind the Boston Celtics, who are at plus 450. In the WNBA, I believe we are unified across the board here, and he is going with the chalk, the Las Vegas Aces, plus 210. Bocce, a.k.a. Chalky, doing some good stuff here. CBB champ, he's going UNC right now. I think that is another good look, coming off of a really tough loss last year, and they got a strong class here to bounce back. NBA MVP, another chalk pick, the favorite on the board, Luka Doncic. Will the Mavericks finally hit that 53-54 game mark? And if they do, is Luka Doncic locking up MVP? Bocce says yes at plus 460. JY, quickly, before we dive into Kofsky and Friezo, and then we switch it back to you and I, what are your thoughts on Bocce's gauntlet of NBA picks here?
I do like him. I think Milwaukee's going to be motivated. We talked about the Aces being the best team in the WNBA. Luka should have a fantastic year and have plenty of opportunities. And I like North Carolina, folks. Do not sleep on this team. They all came back. Leaky Black came back. Caleb Love came back. R.J. Davis came back. Most importantly, Armando Baycock went back. They lost Brady Manick. Don't sleep on Pete Nance, a 6'11" transfer out of Northwestern, slides into that stretch 4 position. North Carolina may be one of the best teams and have a definite chance of cutting down the nets.
I think Joe Friezo is also in agreement with you two on this one because Friezo's board looks suspiciously similar to Bocce's board, although I know they did not work together. We all work individually when we do these types of segments. They just happen to have great thinking minds, and they do so in a way that is alike. So let's roll in Friezo's picks here. Milwaukee at plus 550. Las Vegas Aces at plus 210. North Carolina sitting there, the first 3 all the same. Where Friezo is going elsewhere is in that NBA MVP market. He is not taking Luka at plus 450. Give him $2 of better value on Giannis Antetokounmpo, the 2-time MVP. The precedent is there, and they are going to come out ferociously after a tough end to their season last year. I love that idea by Friezo of correlating the Bucks to win the title and Giannis to win the MVP, because if the Bucks win the title, Giannis is going to be going absolutely nuclear, JY.
You're going to get a motivated Giannis. I mean, we talked about it. With them losing Middleton and losing that 7th game to the Boston Celtics, you're going to get a very motivated Milwaukee Bucks team. And here's interesting to look at. Does Budenholzer try to play for the 1 seed and play his guys major minutes, because he has been known to give them long stretches during the regular season in games off and playing his rotation to save them for the playoffs? Be interesting. Big numbers should come out of Giannis this year.
Yeah, I am definitely in agreement with that. And slight spoiler alert, that is my pick for MVP this season as well. And we'll dive into that in just a moment. Kofsky is going in a bit of a different direction in a lot of these picks. He's taking Miami to win the title at 15-1. Incredible value there for Chris Kofsky, who is, by the way, a Miami Heat fan. I'm sure that has nothing to do with this pick right now. But he's going with the Heat there at 15-1. We're going with the Aces once again. Everyone loves Las Vegas. Best team name, coolest team name, and I know Kofsky loves him some Kelsey Plum for the Aces there. CBB champion, he's looking at Kentucky. The Wildcats are due for one. I am also going to be looking at Kentucky for my college basketball winner here, JY. They always have a good recruiting class. They're down there in the Bahamas getting some reps in right now, even during the college offseason. And then his NBA MVP, he's tailing Bocce here and going with Luka Doncic at plus 460 once again. Let's talk to, we got your thoughts already on MVP. We got your thoughts already on the Aces. Let's talk about Kentucky and let's talk about Miami here. Starting things off with the Wildcats, Coach JY. How do you feel about them at 14-1 right now, 12-1 right now to win the college basketball NCAA championship next year?
I think Kentucky is going to be fascinating, and I'm going to give you 2 words: Oscar Tshiebwe. Boy, that boy got a big butt. You can't get around it. That big butt don't lie. I'm telling you, Tshiebwe is an absolute monster in the low post. Let's see if you get some development out of guys like Jacob Toppin. And then you got guys like Grady and Ty Washington in the lead. But Cal always brings in some of the best recruits, and he always makes sure that they are ready to roll. And he's got some really good ones coming in this year. Let's see what we get out of the Kentucky Wildcats. And as regards to the Miami Heat, everybody knows that JY is a big believer in the Miami Heat. I love their culture. I love everything that Spoelstra brings to that organization. And you could argue a bad shot selection by Jimmy Butler may have cost them a chance to win an NBA title. Does he go to the basket on Al Horford? We would see. But I do think you're going to have another team motivated in Miami. So for the value at 15-1, I actually do like it.
Yeah, I'm not as strong with you on that one there, JY. Miami, I just can't get behind them as a title winner. I do think they will make some noise in the playoffs, but that is a team that just does not have the talent, in my opinion, to be contending at that top level. I understand that they were close enough in the playoffs there, but how many years are you going to consistently outplay your talent level? I don't know. We will wait and see what the case is next year. All right, let's flip it over to my picks here. Quickly, I have a different pick for the NBA title. No surprise that I am going with the Boston Celtics, although I really wrestled between them and the Milwaukee Bucks, but I've been on the Celtics all day and I've been talking about it. This is a team that is legit 7-8 players deep, and their starting rotation of Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon now off the bench alongside Derek White to form that nice little guard duo in the backcourt. And then you also have guys like Grant Williams to provide some defense and IQ as well. I love the Celtics this year going over their win total for the regular season, and I love the Celtics to come back with a vengeance and get it done in the NBA playoffs now that they have some more scoring balanced across the roster. And let's not forget, they might be acquiring Kevin Durant. So I am going with the chalky pick here, the favorite on the board at plus 450, the Boston Celtics to win the NBA title this year, JY.
Listen, I can't argue it. You could argue that you could say that they gave away the title. I mean, they were up 2-1 and winning in the last 5 minutes of game number 4. They had the Warriors dead and buried, and they let the Warriors come back and steal it. So I listen. They should be good, but to me, it's about the consistent play of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum can't have these 4 for 14, 3 for 13 shooting nights. He's got to be a top 5 player night in, night out. If he does it, James, then you got to think that Boston will be there in the end.
Yep, I do agree with you on that one, JY. Big season here for JT, and we will see what happens if he gets paired up with Kevin Durant there. But let us talk about your picks here, JY. In these final 2 minutes, you've got some good value on this board. You're going with a different title favorite as well in the Los Angeles Clippers at 7-1. Talk me through this. Talk me through Houston as well and Joel Embiid as your season MVP for the NBA.
I think you're going to get a very motivated, team in regards to the Sixers. That's why I'm big on Embiid winning the MVP trophy. And you could argue that he should have been the MVP this past year. Does the NBA correct itself and give it to him this year? Clippers, I've talked about their depth. They do need a backup center. Hello, Andre Drummond. Hello, LaMarcus Aldridge, maybe. But when you look at that roster, if Kawhi stays healthy, him and PG should be dynamic with John Wall, who doesn't have to score, folks. Lead the fast break, get guys involved, and be a dog defensively is what I think that John Wall can bring to that team, and a motivated John Wall. And then you talk about guys like Marcus Morris Sr., Robert Covington, Norman Powell. It's almost like they made the trades last year for this year. They punted last year to get Kawhi back and make the run this year, in my opinion. And then when you go to the NCAA, I am just such a big fan of what, Kelvin Sampson has done. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NCAA. And then you bring back a guy like a Marcus Sasser. Listen, they had a lot of injuries last year, Houston. If there's a team, everybody talks about Gonzaga and all these mid-majors. If there's one that can get it done, I'm a big believer in Kelvin Sampson. Why? He can coach, they defend like crazy, they rebound, and they don't turn the ball over. Those are 4 recipes for success, and I do think that Houston will actually win the NCAA championship.
Quickly, JY, I'm putting you on the spot here. Who's got the best list besides you? Who are you going to tail for these picks right now?
Well, because you're my partner in crime, to hell with everybody else. Shane got the best. Shane's got the best one, no doubt.
My guy, JY, always appreciate you, man. We will be back with Antonio Williams after the break.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now.
Hi, folks. Medicare Part C plans with extra benefits like getting money added back to your Social Security check may now be available to you in your zip code. Make sure you're not missing out. It's simple. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, they'll look up your zip code and see if you're eligible. 3, they'll check for plans with extra benefits like prescriptions, dental coverage, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every single month. Call now.
I called to get everything I deserve.
I called to check my zip code for a plan with a benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to check my zip code.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. Call, check your zip code, see if you're eligible, and get what you deserve. Call now.
Call 1-800-810-7576. That's 1-800-810-7576 now.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. That's right, free. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And it's free. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched over 1,200 annuities and summarized the rates and benefits of annuities from financially strong insurers. Again, that's Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free, for calling Annuity General today. Supplies are limited. Call now.
Call 800-830-7360. That's 800-830-7360.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-268-1371. That's 800-268-1371. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
Betting above the rim here on Sports Grid, Jon James, James Young, and now very pleased to welcome back onto the show a dear friend of the program and one of our all-time favorite guests, Antonio Williams, giving us the Scout's Eye here on our final Saturday morning show for this season for Betting Above the Rim. And we could not do it without Antonio and getting all of his great perspective and everything that he brings to the table. Antonio, a pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
James, I appreciate it, man. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad that you guys called me back. It's been crazy. Coach JY, listening to all the things that you've been saying, it's awesome, man. I cannot wait to break this stuff down with you guys for sure.
You know,
yeah,
it's definitely go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
No, JY, all you. I want you guys to get reacquainted here, of course, as well.
Yeah, this is my guy. I mean, you know, if we gotta come in with the last hour, we gotta come with the home run hitter. This guy is hotter than a bag of fish. I mean, I'm telling you, he comes with it. We're gonna give y'all some takes. Me from the coaching eye, you know, and Tony from the Scout's eye, and hopefully we give you some futures that can make you some money today.
Hell yeah, that is the plan. That's what we like to do here, always on Batter. And one more time for the people, let us dive right into it. So, Antonio, we're going to begin with the big dog and the futures market for the NBA title. This one, Not a lot of movement in the past couple weeks, but opening up with a very different look than last season. Your favorite right now to win the title is the Boston Celtics, coming off that brutal loss in the NBA Finals that still haunts me to this day. Plus 450 for the Celtics here to win the title. Going down the list, you got Milwaukee in their potential revenge season at plus 550. And then the Warriors, $2 behind, even though they are the NBA defending champions, $2 behind the Boston Celtics. And how about the LA Clippers there at 7-1? I know JY loves the LA Clippers, and you guys can talk about the Clippers here in just a moment. But take me through that top four when it opens up for the NBA futures next season. Are you surprised to see the Warriors not booked as the favorite? And do you think that order makes sense right now?
I'm a little bit surprised. Everybody knows how difficult it is to defeat, repeat, sorry about that. But when you look at what's going on in Golden State and you look at the way that they are really positioned in terms of not only having that veteran sort of presence, and of course I'm probably underscoring how valuable Steph and Clay and Draymond are, referring to them as a veteran presence. Of course, they're incredible players. Of course, they have championship medal, but they have those young players as well. James Wiseman, for example, he is a big, big part of what they're going to do because he really gives them the ability to protect the rim, provided that he stays healthy. Jonathan Kuminga is going to take another step. He's going to take a big step. Coach, I know you love Kawhi and Paul George with those do-it-all wings. Jonathan Kuminga is in that mold. And I'm not saying he is at that level yet, but he's in that mold. But when you look at their team, he doesn't necessarily have to be Kawhi or Paul George. But if he can put on a little bit of that ability, show a little bit of that ability, that's going to go a long way for Golden State as well, to have athleticism from the wing and athleticism in the post. That's something that is really, really undervalued. That's something that, if you look at Golden State, they haven't had that since Kevin Durant. So to add that along with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, I think would be super, super incredible. I think people are undervaluing Golden State a little bit. So I really like that. But coach's pick with the Clippers, that's a major, major one. You want to make some money? Put some money down on the Clippers because, again, I love what they're doing. I love what they do from a depth standpoint. Really love what they can do on the wings, and then adding John Wall would be incredible.
You know, Antonio, I completely agree with the sentiment about Golden State. I think they're going to go over that win total. I think it's low. I think it's 52.5. James and I talked about it. We both loved it. I do think it's one of these scenarios where people are also, you don't sleep on DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green as pickups, as vets, guys who understand their role, know what they need to do, won't try to do too much, and just fits that mold perfectly. But you're right. James Wiseman as a rebounding and shot blocking and lob threat becomes extremely dangerous. And he even showed in Summer League the ability to step out and even make a three-pointer and can handle the ball for a big. So you can run five-out action, and that becomes really hard to guard because obviously you know that Golden State runs that split screen action where someone cuts, someone pops, and you can actually have James Wiseman as the trigger man up top in that. So don't sleep on the Golden State Warriors. Antonio, I want to go to the East now a little bit. It seems like it's a lot more competitive. Everybody talks about Boston, but you talk about the resurgence of, you know, if Miami comes back, you know, what do we get out of Brooklyn? We can talk about that later. Chicago, the health of Lonzo Ball, how much undervalued maybe a team like the Toronto Raptors. But I want to focus with Philadelphia. I got this feeling, Antonio, maybe I'm crazy. I think James Harden is going to be outstanding this year. I think he's motivated because you know why? The brother want to get that bag. He needs that check. He wants that chicken. So he wants to get paid next year. Talk to me about your thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers.
I think this Philadelphia 76ers, provided that they have health, they are a major, major threat in the Eastern Conference, especially when you start looking at what they did with having P.J. Tucker and bringing him into the fold as well. This is a team that, if you looked at when they made some of those changes, this was a team that you looked at and you say, you know what, maybe they don't have the toughness as well. Of course, James Harden's got to get in better shape, of course. But having that toughness, being able to defend those wings when you're talking about a Kevin Durant, when you're talking about a Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, not necessarily stopping them, but making their lives more difficult. PJ Tucker majors in that. So to add him to the roster, and you know what? What do they say? What do the Raider fans say? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So if they're being investigated for tampering, I can't be mad at that. So especially if that's going to put you over the top. So yes, provided that they have health, I do think James Harden's going to be motivated. I think Joel Embiid's going to be motivated because he's at that critical juncture in his career. There isn't anything left for him to prove from an individual standpoint. I think he's over the shock of trying to win an MVP and trying to prove to everybody, because we know that the MVP is a narrative award more than it's actually an award on merit. It's a narrative award. Sometimes it's given to the best player in the league. Sometimes it becomes a lifetime achievement award. I think Joel Embiid is over that. So for the Philadelphia 76ers to be where they are, I think that's good value. I also think you said a team, Coach, provided with health, especially with Lonzo Ball. The Chicago Bulls are a team to watch for sure. So very much looking forward to see what's going on in the East, because give a little history lesson here. The West has been better than the East for like 30 years. It's just that nobody paid attention to it because there was an animal in the East by the name of Michael Jordan. But this has been going on since the Jordan days. It's part of the reason why some of the teams in the West, when we were going to the competition committee, we were saying, hey, you know what? You just need to reseed this thing 1 through 16, because there are teams in the West that are winning 49 and 50 games and not making the playoffs.
Antonio, I do want to direct your attention to that MVP market that you brought up there. And Joel Embiid right now is plus 550 to win the NBA MVP for this upcoming season, trailing Luka Doncic by about 90 cents. He is plus 460. My pick on this board is Giannis to take it once again, his third MVP at plus 650. Now that there's been a little bit of a gap between his last award, the voters may be coming back and maybe not, hesitating to give it to him once again. But perusing this board, and I do want to get your thoughts as well on free agency rules in a couple minutes, but quickly perusing this board, who's the value for NBA MVP this year?
To me, the value is Ja Morant. That's a guy that I really, really look at. Hot take, Ja Morant. Because there's narrative around it. These guys made a run to the Western Conference Finals and played without him. There's going to be motivation in Memphis for Ja Morant. And the fact that one of the things that we had with Steph Curry is, and again, with him being unanimous, it had 2 incredible years in the 1 year that he was unanimous, of course. 2 incredible years, but also a little guy. And people love to get behind little guys. I think Ja Morant is going to attack this with a lot of fervor. I think Memphis is a team to watch in the Western Conference for certain, because we talk about young players getting experience. Memphis got that. And I think Ja Morant is hungry. So for me, when I'm looking for a value play, a play where I can sneak up on somebody, Ja Morant's my guy.
Love it.
And Tony, I want to go a different direction, okay? I want you to give me a team that you think that are going to surprise people and be better than expected, and give me a team that did really well this past year that's going to take a step back in regards to maybe their win total or where they're going to be on the board to win the NBA championship.
My surprise team this year that I think is going to do really well, because I think nobody's getting traded, the Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot. That's what I think. The Brooklyn Nets. Dude. I don't think anybody's getting traded. The Brooklyn Nets.
You're coming on. You're coming on for the rest of time. Bonchi may kick us off the show, but it would be interesting to see what happens. But Antonio, give me the flip side. Give me a really great team this past year, even maybe a team that overachieved, like the Knicks did 2 years ago, and they came back. Right. Give me a team that's going to come back to the pack this year.
It's going to be interesting for me. One of the teams that I feel like is going to come back to the pack. The team that I feel like, if I'm looking at them today and I say, you know what, here's a team that I don't feel like is going to do as well as they did a year before, I would probably have to say that team would be, just so many good teams. I would say,
what?
No, not the Grizzlies, because I like Ja Morant. That team for me would have to be, the team that I think that may not be as good. That's an interesting one for me. When I'm really thinking about it, because I like Philly. I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to be really good. I'm going
How about Miami?
pick. Miami might be a team. Miami may be a team that may come back to the pack a little bit, especially when you start looking at I love Jimmy Butler. Absolutely love Jimmy Butler. But this is around the time where Jimmy Butler starts to grate on people. And also, too, you have Tyler Hero wants to get paid and really establish himself. So Miami could be a team that if they don't make any moves, this is a team. Because the other thing that really surprised me about Miami, and I'm glad you brought them up, James, the other thing that surprised me about Miami was the play of Bam Adebayo. I thought he was really going to take that next step. And for whatever reason, he didn't take that next step and become a really, really dominating force. And I was a little bit disappointed in that. Not in him, but just the fact that he didn't take that next step and really get into the upper echelon of really, really, really good players in this league. Miami's the team, especially with no PJ Tucker. That's the team that I look at and I say, you know what? If there was a team that I have to pick, and if they came back to the pack and I wouldn't be surprised by it, it'd probably be Miami.
Good luck there from Antonio. Doesn't want to be too negative, and we appreciate that and appreciate everything that he's done for us this season. Betting Above the Rim continues after the break.
With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, and batteries never need charging.
I was having a stroke, and I was scared to death.
If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Life Alert is a lifesaver.
My husband is alive because of Life Alert.
Life Alert is the lifesaver to keep me out of assisted living.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-609-5506. That's 1-800-609-5506. Call now. 1-800-609-5506.
Attention! Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? If so, you may qualify for the IRS Fresh Start program, so you won't have to make any payments to the IRS. That's right. If you qualify for the IRS's Fresh Start program, you won't make any IRS payments once you are accepted. Once you are in the IRS Fresh Start program, they must stop all harassing and threatening collection activities. Call Tax Relief today now at 800-382-1870 to see if you qualify. Again, 800-382-1870.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or been diagnosed with another asbestos-related cancer, call now. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be able to receive compensation without ever going to court or filing a lawsuit. Thousands of hardworking men and women have been diagnosed with mesothelioma because manufacturers put profits ahead of safety. Manufacturers knew the risks of asbestos exposure for years, but knowingly manufactured and sold deadly asbestos-containing materials, putting millions of American workers at risk. These manufacturers have tried to avoid compensating their victims, but the courts have ordered them to set aside an estimated $30 billion in trust money for the victims of asbestos. Call now to see if you're entitled to a portion of the $30 billion. You could receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-268-1371. That's 800-268-1371. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
You heard a screech outside at night, but you can't see what it is because there's not enough light. You need the Bionic Floodlight from Bell & Howell, the solar-powered motion-activated multi-directional floodlight, the versatile wireless, safety, security, and outdoor lifestyle light you'll love. And right now, it's yours for just $29.99, and the shipping is free. Order now, and we'll send a second Bionic Floodlight. Just pay a separate fee. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-604-7066 or order online at bionicfloodlight.com.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it is our last segment of Betting Above the Rim for this season. James and Shames, for one more time, 2 more minutes here on this fine Saturday morning. And right now, JY, what I want to do, put JY on the screen. What I want to do is I want to shout out our crew right now, JY. And first and foremost, I need to shout you out for being an amazing co-host. Really, really doing your part as a fantastic analyst for this whole season, giving the people winners, giving some people some humor, making my job easier. I'm very grateful for you, JY. And before we talk about the crew in the back here, I do want to throw it to you and just kind of let you give your thoughts on what has been an unbelievable season, an unbelievable opportunity for both of us to carry out this show.
You know, when Greg and Sussman and Mike Cardano came to me about, you know, guesting a spot, I ran to him and said, I wanted James to get an opportunity. I thought that you were ready, and I thought that you were able to carry a 2-hour broadcast with me kind of co-piling with you. And this has gone better than I think anyone on the network has anticipated. We've given people winners. We've given people laughs. We've given people our thoughts. We've given people you big dummy and hot takes. So it's been great. And before I get back to you, to Kofsky, to Friezo, to Bocce, to Jack, everybody, the graphics team, everybody involved in this. For me being a first-time co-host, you guys have made this outstanding. I think we crushed it. If Cardano and Greg are listening, we need to run this thing back next year, because we do give people the winning edge, and our fresh faces and our humor, I think, is something that people will love to see.
I agree, JY. I do want to echo your sentiment, shouting out everyone in the back: Andrew Bocci-Galupo, Chris Kofsky, Joe Friezo, JJ Beal, and of course Chris McCall on the graphics. And we cannot forget about Noah Stump, who is running the boards for us down there in Kansas City. Betting Above the Rim for one last time this offseason. We'll be doing football next week, but we'll talk to you again in February. Everyone, enjoy the season.